Hello, grace, mercy and peace be with you all. We sometimes say what a difference a day makes. However, sometimes it does not even take a day, but merely a breath or two for us to descend from the heights of success to the depths of failure. A journey that Peter makes here, not for the first and certainly not for the last time. How wonderfully human Peter is, flawed and brilliant, all in the same package, just like us. To recall the distance travelled by Peter, we only have to look back to our Bible reading from last week. Here Jesus asked his disciples the question, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" In response, Peter was commended by Jesus for declaring, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." Jesus concluded by saying that this insight and revelation did not come from human wisdom, but by direct revelation from God the Father in heaven. The problem for Peter was that he did not fully understand what he had said. Peter did not understand what the nature of this revelation meant. Peter, with his Jewish background, in common with many of his kinfolk, carried the expectation that the promised Messiah would be an all-conquering king after the example of King David, who would lead his army to drive back the Romans in order to take possession once again of the promised land. Stunningly, in our Bible reading today, Jesus says this is not so. In doing so, he turns upside down the expectations of Peter and his kinfolk, declaring, "I must go to Jerusalem and suffer much from the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law. I will be put to death, but 3 days later I will be raised to life." Peter is outraged, and in a sense he speaks for many when he declares, "God forbid it, Lord, this must never happen to you." Our expectations and hopes often take on a life of their own, a fixed shape and understanding, which is what makes it so difficult when they are disappointed and shattered. In this moment, Peter moves from acclamation to condemnation, with Jesus addressing him in the harshest possible terms when he says, "Get away from me, Satan. You are an obstacle in my way because these thoughts of yours don't come from God, but from man." Did you spot the difference in these two declarations? It's subtle, but the first came as a direct revelation from God, the second from the human heart. The origin of our thoughts and words matter. Are they inspired and sourced in God, or do their origins lie elsewhere? It sounds clear-cut, but of course it's not. It's far from easy to discern between the two, but perhaps with humility we can handle our words with care, always pondering the origin from which they come. It's hard not to be sympathetic with Peter at this point. Despite his journey and presence with Jesus, he is unprepared for this final revelation of the mission impossible that he has signed up to. What follows is the toughest lesson of discipleship, which is beginning to explore and unpack the nature of costly, sacrificial love. A love which holds nothing and no one back. In worldly terms, the invitation here which Jesus lays before his disciples is an inherently unattractive one. It's completely countercultural, and as a marketing and advertising strategy for attracting new converts and disciples, it really does not look like the winner that it will become. What becomes clear here is the true nature of love. This love is neither cheap nor a buy one get one free deal, but a priceless act and offer. It is summed up in these words of Jesus to his would-be disciples of each and every age. "If anyone wants to come with me, he must forget self, carry his cross, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." What does that mean in practical terms in our day? What does choosing or not choosing to carry our cross look like in practice? Well, mindful of discrimination in all of its forms, and our repeated failure to love as God has loved us, I finish with the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who once said, "If a man happens to be 36 years old, as I happen to be, and some great truth stands before the door of his life, some great opportunity to stand up for that which is right and that which is just, and he refuses to stand up because he wants to live a little longer, and he is afraid his home will get bombed, or he is afraid that he will get shot. He may go on and live until he's 80, and the cessation of breathing in his life is merely the belated announcement of an earlier death of the spirit. Man dies when he refuses to stand up for that which is right. A man dies when he refuses to take a stand for that which is true." So let us keep a moment of prayerful silence. Amen.